Hey, it's Sebastian from Palaye Royale, and this is the Rock Talk on the Rock Source magazine.
The Rock Source is in Toronto today, and we welcome Palaye Royale. We have the opportunity to just chat with them now. Welcome.
Thank you.
I actually have been following you since I stumbled across your band playing during Canadian Music Week in 2017. And I have to say, I personally think you guys are great.
Thank you.
You're currently on tour with Beasto Blanco and Hailstorm. How's the tour going so far?
It's good. Lizzie and the whole Hailstorm crew are super sweet, and their fans are receptive because they're open to rock and roll, so it's been nice. So
You've been out since April 18th, and honestly, every time I see you guys on social media, you are always out.
yeah, we've been on tour since November 2015. So
It's just nonstop all the time.
we don't
eh?
stop. Yeah. Which
Is
has
there
been
a
great.
reason for that?
Yeah, I feel like we live in an age that there's so much content out in the world. Unless you're like constantly putting out material, constantly in people's faces, you won't be as forgotten quickly as the problem is, I think the cycle units of like bands used to be 2 years. Like, you put out albums, tour it, you take a break, you do it again. But there's so many people that are so hungry for it, and I feel like if you're not in the front fourth of like wanting to do this every single day and really care to push the boundaries of changing how this music business acts, is the only way we kind of kept going. And because we have this relationship with our fans, because we're always coming back, they feel like there's this personal connection at the shows, and it's an environment that they feel connected to, that they always want to continue coming back to, and they don't forget about it that quickly. So
Hey, what's your favorite thing about going on tour?
recently we've been in Europe a lot, so it's been like really awesome. I didn't ever think we would ever play shows in like Prague or Vienna, and like to show up and there's 1,000 kids in Prague for the first time us ever being there is kind of remarkable. So seeing all these places that are so historic, and we're playing next to where like most Mozart or Beethoven's like done a symphony in Vienna, and for us to kind of just be in that environment is, hundreds and hundreds of years of music, which is pretty cool to be a part of. So
Do you find fans are different?
absolutely, yeah,
Are
and
they?
all different. All the fans all have the same genuine love, but I feel like there's this. I was saying earlier, like basically, you look to see where all these kids are coming from and the way their upbringings are, and like in the States, you're not really known to be an adult till you're 18, and then you don't start drinking till you're 21. But in Europe, it's like you're 16, you're drinking. You're allowed to drink anywhere, and I feel like it gives you a little bit more sense of not the drinking side of it, but your parents like have kind of pushed you into the world of being an adult. So it's definitely funny to see our age categories around the world kind of fluctuate. Like in the States, we're like 15 to 25 fan base. In Europe, it's like 18 to 32. It's crazy to see all around the world, and how people will act, and how the conversations are pretty much the same amongst the fans in the sense of like intelligence and like their individuality, which is really nice to see. But I love seeing the different cultures and the way people are brought up, and what's right and what's wrong. So
Okay, what's when you go to different countries or cities, is there one thing in particular that is a must to purchase for like the long hours on the road, whether it be a snack or fast food or
I don't know. We've been really good. We used to be really bad when we were driving all the time. I would be the one driving for the first part of 2.5 years of touring. So if you saw a gas station, that was like your only option. But now that we're like a little bit more in luxury of having a bus, I can cook every day and like make sure our riders, like, there's a consistent lifestyle. Like, I don't go on tour and feel like I'm exhausted at the end of it anymore. I feel like I am actually living what I want to do, but I'm also like getting to do my 9 to 5 every day, and it feels somewhat normal, even though I'm in a different city every single day. So, like, definitely when we come to Canada and Toronto, it's usually butter tarts, ketchup chips, always a must. When we go to England, it's always like beans on toast, and doing tea all the time. So different locations call for different measures. So
okay, you guys are originally from Toronto and have been back quite a few times. Is there a favorite restaurant here that is a must for you to visit before you leave? And do you even have time for that?
no, restaurants, unfortunately, no. And I follow like the rule book of Anthony Bourdain and like always look up like what's cool in that
Yep.
city. And I don't get to do that as much. I think because it's like you get busier and your days become more filled. It used to be we loaded and sit around for hours, but yeah, no, you really don't see much of the cities anymore, which is unfortunate. But the only way I get to see the cities is I go on runs every morning if it's not
Yep.
raining, and
Yeah,
that's
today's not so great.
Not great, but that's how I saw Europe. It was amazing. Like I would run like 5 miles a day and just see the city. And it was like the best way to see the cities, because when you're in a car looking around, you don't really get to
Yep.
witness it. So, but yeah.
Okay, what's the coolest or craziest gift a fan has gotten for you?
I said I liked Hendrick's gin.
Okay.
And there was the last tour we did, there was 40 stops on it, and I had over like 95 bottles of gin given to me.
That's crazy.
And so like I got home and Mom's like, you can't have all this. I'm like, Mom, you're gonna have it, you're gonna keep it, because I don't have a house in LA.
Yep.
So I'm always on the road. And I just like gave her all my gin, and I go over there, I'm like, you haven't drank anything. She's like, well, I'm just gonna store them for you.
You're going to store them
Yeah.
forever, right? Has there been any fans that you have seen that follow you from city to city and always manage to get up right front?
Yeah. Funny enough, there's these two girls actually from Montreal that they're coming to most of the Canadian shows and some of the funeral tour that we're doing in the States. And they came across Europe with us. It was like awesome. But there's so like, there's these other two girls in London as well that they traveled and did our whole European tour. Mm-hmm. And they would show up to the gigs and you could see how tired they are. And we're like, what
You
did
can
you
go
guys
home, you
I'm
know?
like, and they're like, no, we just want to see all the shows. And we're like, well, here's like $50, here's $100, go get yourself a hotel room. Like, we're so like,
That is
they're,
so
I'm like,
sweet.
they're like, we just worked so much to like get train tickets to come to these shows. And I'm like, you guys got tickets for life. Like, you're fucking fine. You know?
Oh, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah. When you see that though, because they're genuine, they're not being weird, they're not
Yep.
being creepy about it. They just want to be in the environment and they become friends with everybody. And it's nice you build these real like genuine street teams amongst the fans, and they all become friends, and they all like take care of each other and stay at each other's houses in different cities and countries. And that's like the coolest thing that music has brought for us, like bringing all these kids together. And you know, it's giving some sense of home to these
Yep.
kids, and it's a nice thing. Community has been lost in music, and I think it needs to be brought back in that sense.
I
So.
totally agree with you. You guys are very active on social media. Do you like the fact that fans can follow you so closely? And also, do you think social media has helped or hindered bands with everything being so easily accessible?
I think the biggest thing with social media is it's a double-edged sword, but it can be used very positive. Emerson despises social media, but he's, does all the art for the band. He's very poetic and does all these things, but he'll do like giveaways for merch and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
But say you need the person with the best, quote or poem or whatever put in the comments, so like to see interaction, that people are actually using their minds and not just taking a selfie and posting an emoji.
Yep.
It's not mindless behavior, and I think
Yep.
that's the most important thing is like you can use a platform to connect to everybody, and that's how we built our audience. But there's also, you have to still keep a sense of mystique, even though you're so accessible.
Yep.
And that's the hardest thing, because you see people, you see all these Vine stars and whatever, all social media people that just came because of social media. There was no like talent or anything, they're influencers. But they built something off of being personable. And when bands are very not for that, and they're like, I'm keeping true to my art, but at the end of the day, art is the most personal thing. If you're actually creating your art, why don't you show that to the fans in a certain way, and not being like, I'm not going to share with you the music, I'm not going to share with you what I go through, because I feel like there's a relatable thing, but there's also, it's hard not to give away too much, because you have access to everything, and people
Yep.
we all are evil with it, and we'll always
Yep.
want to be like, I'm going to post everything. I'm going to post my meal. I'm going to post my traveling. But it's a double-edged sword that can be used properly, but you don't know where it's going. And I think that's the problem. Everyone wants that instant gratification of seeing
what it
something.
is, yeah.
But they don't remember what they saw. That's the problem. You can post a song today, and tomorrow everyone forgot about it because you posted a selfie that took more power to it. And
Yep.
it's weird. Art becomes the second nature to what like people's personalities are.
Yep.
So
I totally understand that. With everything so easily accessible, how do you set yourself apart?
I think it's because we're genuine about how we are. Like we don't hide who we are. We've never been ones to like sit back and kind of try to contrive or create something on that. The only thing we create is our art, and the art is something that just comes from an honest place. And I think that's all. You just got to continue to stay genuine, and people relate to it because it is genuine, and you're not manufacturing something, and you don't have someone like dressing you. We wake up in the morning, put our own clothes on. We don't have stylists. I think that's the most pointless job forever for any musician. It's like you're creating art, but you can't get dressed in the morning. Like,
I totally understand that,
even
yeah.
I don't care what the hell you get dressed in. Just fucking put on something that describes you. You
Yep.
know. And I think that's a lot, and it shows if you can't do that, then how does it affect your artwork, you know? If you're a slob as a human and a slob as a musician, then that's who you are. Let it, like, you got to own being an
you.
individuality.
Yeah.
And I think that's people are so scared, like, oh, I need to make sure it looks great all the time. I'm like, yeah, but sometimes the imperfections are the most important part, you know?
I totally agree with
Yeah.
you, 100%. Hey, I love seeing photos of you out in the crowd, standing on people's hands. I do follow you
Yeah,
on social
yeah.
media. You recently were shut down at a show. Can you explain what happened, and will this stop you from doing it elsewhere?
I think even going back to being an individual, it's like performance it's an art piece in its own, and I think we've taken true to like being very comfortable on stage, and we treat every day as a new show. There's no production in the sense of that the show's the same, and something might happen, something might not happen, but it happens more often than anything now, especially because we've been lucky enough to be headlining and doing really big rooms by ourselves. So when we go and support a band again, all these limitations and rules become a thing. And I think it's because a lot of the time it's the headliners are usually the ones calling the shots on that sense and say, oh, well, you're outperforming. And I'm like, I think that's like kind of stupid, because we've got kicked out of venues because of Remington climbing things. And they're like,
Yep.
this is dangerous and you're going to hurt someone. It's like, yeah, but Eddie Vedder was jumping off of 30-foot rafters and onto people. You know,
Yep.
Caged Elephant made their career off of jumping in the crowd every single song. Like, it's just, you're watching live entertainment. If you want to watch a movie in a stagnant show, go to the movie theaters or watch a
Yep.
live documentary like on your DVD. But a show is supposed to be a safe place, of course, you know, but if everyone already knows that what they're coming in for, they know what to expect. You know,
They
it's
know
not a
what's gonna
surprise.
happen, yeah.
You know, Remington is going to climb something. Remington will jump on someone. You know,
Yep.
but that's just him. That's who he is as an entertainer.
That's how you set yourself apart.
Once you take that away from us, well,
Yeah.
what's the point of doing it?
I
So.
totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, here's the spot you get to shamelessly plug your band. What do you want people to know about you, and where can people find you?
I'm just a rock and roll band trying to create controlled chaos most of the time, and becomes more chaotic than controlled, but that's it. And you can find us anywhere online.
Perfect. I really want to appreciate you spending some time with the Rock Source today, and we all look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Be safe on your travels. This
Thank
is
you.
Dawn for the Rock Source.
Thank you.